Hey cats, what's happening? Sunday afternoon here, and it's got to be close to 65 degrees or something like that today, but kind of dreary, a little rainy, drizzles here and there. But it's a Sunday, and Sunday's always a good day. I thought today I'd talk about a little bit of, I don't know, our heritage or some of the history of the area. I've always been like a history buff. I just love history, especially of this area, which is in the Northeast, the eastern states of the United States, the New England states, and then following westward into Pennsylvania, New York, Ohio, Virginia, West Virginia. In the early history, you know, it was all inhabited by American Indians and numerous Indian tribes. One of my favorite books is The Frontiersman. It's written by Alan Eckert, and you can see my book's pretty worn out. I've read it from cover to cover a couple times, and the reason I like The Frontiersman so much is because it's all a depiction of our early American history. And Alan Eckert's done a very good job of researching and diving in deep to the history of our country. And he talks about some of the key figures in here, but some of the drama in here between the different nations, the Indian nations and the English that came in, it's just incredible, some of the stuff that goes on. So one thing I did learn in reading some of this history was that the American Indians that lived in this part of the country, which I'm in Ohio right now, they didn't live in teepees. You know, whenever you think of American Indians, you picture them living in teepees. Not the case. They lived in what they call wigwams, and they were actually built out of logs and poles, kind of like a pole barn almost. They had bark thatch roofs, and some of them were 2 stories tall, so they even had like an upstairs loft area where they would sleep. So I found that pretty interesting. Learned a lot of stuff by reading these historical novels. This is a classic. If you haven't read the Frontiersman, I would recommend it to anybody. Once you start getting into it, you won't want to put it down. It is one of my favorite books of all time, aside from the Bible, The Frontiersman. Now, speaking about American Indians, did you ever go hunting for arrowheads? I never actually went hunting for them. I hear that the best place to find them would be like, you know, over in the plowed field there after the farmer gets done turning the earth, especially after a rain. You put your muck boots on, you walk through the freshly plowed dirt, and you look for the flint. Now, they say the Indians carried the flint from Flint Ridge, which is down in this about the middle of Ohio, and the Indians would come from all over, and you'll see in one of my past videos where V and I actually went to Flint Ridge. But they went to Flint Ridge and they collected large rocks of flint, and then they carried them back to their nation or their tribe, and they would nap the arrowheads out of them. Now, most of the arrowheads that I understand that we find today are like prehistoric, so they're thousands of years old. So this area, this country was inhabited, you know, thousands and thousands of years before we ever came on board, and that's evidenced by these arrowheads that are found, and they're all over the place. When I built this property, down on the way down at the end of the driveway, there's a pile of topsoil that I had there, and I had him leave it there because I use it from time to time to patch up holes in the yard and stuff. So I'm down there shoveling one day, and I heard this clink with my shovel, and right away I thought it didn't sound like a rock. It sounded like a piece of glass clinking. And I got down there and I started feeling around, and pretty soon I found this arrowhead. I'll show you the one I got. We keep it in here. And this is what I found, this piece. Now the tips broke off of it, but it's flint, and it's definitely an arrowhead. You can see the shape of it there. And you can see where the tip sheared right off. And there's another tip that I'd found a long time ago. Funny thing is, it almost looks like it goes with this one, but you can see it's a different color of flint. It's not the same. And here's one I found when I was a kid. So it's like black obsidian, and I don't know if it was an arrowhead or if it was some kind of a scraper tool. Sometimes they use this edge, you know, to scrape or do fine work, because it's not super sharp on the tip, although flint is very sharp. Now these you can buy, and these are just you know, kind of souvenir shop type arrowheads. They don't have any real value. There's a couple more here. Here's another one, a little small one here. So those don't have any value, and I don't even think that's flint, but it was made for touristy stuff. This is a piece of flint, and again, this little spear point here, not sure where that one came from. That's not really my collection, though. I wanted to show you my real collection, and that's upstairs. Get out of the way, Jack Black. Somehow the cats are always under your feet, no matter where you go. So this is the collection that I have of arrowheads and scrapers and spear points, and it was my grandfather's collection. I have framed it and put everything on a mat here, but let's take it down where we can take a look at it and try to explain to you what some of this stuff is. Okay, you can see a little better there in the light. This is obviously a spear point and another spear point. And then I have some arrowheads up here. This, I believe, along with this one too, were probably scrapers. And then all these small arrowheads they call bird points, because they're very tiny. I have a pretty good selection of them. And like I said, it was all my grandpa's collection. Look at how tiny that one is. Just a little tiny, and they're all flint. They're all part of his collection. Now this, I'm pretty sure was some kind of a drill. And they would spin them, you know, between their hands. And now some of the weirdest things I got in this collection are these. They're like buttons, and I'm not sure where they came from. I mean, they're all part of my grandpa's collection, but I haven't been able to identify them, so I don't know exactly, you know, what their value is, if they have any value or not. And frankly, today, I don't think arrowheads have a lot of value. They do have some, but not a lot. I also have this old cigar box, King Edward Imperial cigars, and it was my grandfather's. But this is some more of his collection that I've got. I got this weird, it's pottery. And there's two pieces to it. Here's the other piece. And they are very fragile. But you can see, move this stuff out of the way. You can see how they fit together. So it made, and it looks like it might have broke off, so it was the bottom of a bowl or something. But I'll turn this part over again. And there you can see the pattern on the bottom of that bowl. And I'm no collector either. Obviously, my grandfather was. This is the weirdest thing here. And I'm not sure if this is like part of a Kachina dog or whatever they called them, but it obviously had broken off of something. And it kind of has like a lion head on there, a curved neck. So it broke off of some kind of a statue or vessel or something. This I found, and I'm pretty sure it's a fossil, some kind of coral. This again, and this isn't flint, but this is definitely a scraper tool. And you can see how, it was well worn and sanded to become fairly sharp where they could use it to scrape again. And they would scrape leathers and furs and stuff. But another prehistoric tool. And this, I believe, is a piece of fossilized bone. Probably some kind of dinosaur bone that I found. And again, I mean, it's all solid rock. It's not bone. It's petrified. And then I have these pieces that go with this pottery that, went around the edge of it somehow, that have all broke off. So it's all part of Grandpa's collection. And there was a lot more to it. Some of it is missing, unfortunately. Pieces of it were sold off, and other pieces of it may have been lost through time. But I'm not sure what all happened to everything, but I know there was a lot more to the collection. And this is just what I've ended up with, so I try to take good care of it for him, even though he's long gone. So what are you going to do with it, Itchy, you ask? Probably nothing. I mean, I'll probably hang on to it because it was my grandpa's. And someday when I pass away, one of my kids will get it, or it'll be passed on. Maybe it won't have any value to anybody, who knows. The only value it has to me is that it was my grandpa's, and I feel like I am entrusted to take care of it and keep it. Now, where did my grandpa get it? I don't know. My grandpa used to work for the police department in Cleveland many years ago. And he's passed away for quite a few years now. But whether he actually, I doubt that he actually found all of those. He may have found some of them. Maybe he was an avid arrowhead hunter. I don't know. I don't know that much about my grandfather. But I do know he was a collector. He loved collecting things. So he may have bought the thing. And when I got it, like they weren't in the frame or anything. They were just all in a big box wrapped in tissue paper. So anyway, and I'm sure some of that stuff comes from all over the country. So I'm pretty sure he might have traded, bartered, or somehow got it. At any rate, if you're interested in looking for arrowheads, and I'm always looking. I mean, I don't actually go out hunting them, but I will always keep my eyes peeled, especially when I'm around areas where, the dirt and the rocks are exposed. You're pretty lucky if you're going to find them in a stream bed, but more apt to find them in a dry place, like I said, like in a plowed up cornfield where there's a lot of dirt turned over and you can cover a lot of ground. But the thing is, you have to know exactly what to look for, and that's the hard part. Some guys got really good eyes for it, and they can spot an arrowhead from a mile away. So it kind of becomes like a hobby, I guess. To me, not really a big hobby, but I do look for them when I have a chance. And in my whole lifetime, I've only found those 3 that I showed you, and 2 of them are broken. So there you go. That's my blog for the day. So until next time, cats, make your life a great adventure.